So, and this is going to be a question to you. I'll have other questions for Will, but Sam, this is a question that's probably going to be posed towards you because you are the quote unquote believer in the group.
Sure.
Would you say that it is hypocrisy for those people who call themselves believers to be Donald Trump supporters? And I'm gonna list some stuff because I have pretty strong feelings about this, and I just want to kind of make it as cogent as I can because I'm kind of flabbergasted about some of the stuff. But the fact that we know that he's a classic American racist because he was convicted of that stuff. Donald Trump is who I'm talking about. He was convicted of being racist in his businesses in the 70s by the Department of Justice. So we know that he has those views, right? He's kind of encouraged white supremacists during his presidency. He lied about COVID in a way that, in my opinion, cost untold numbers of lives, right? He basically said to the people that it was a Democratic hoax, and 2 days later, he's talking to a reporter saying that COVID is the worst thing since the Spanish flu, right? So he knew how bad it was. He just told the American people to save his economy that wasn't that bad, which is, to me, is unbelievable. Also, he cheated on his wife when he was pregnant and paid off the hookers as a result of, or the porn stars. And I don't know if you feel like this, Sam, but I believe he's a pathological liar. I think the evidence shows that. And then he broke tons and tons of laws even while he was president. So with and there's many more things. That's just some of the things. With that, do you believe that it is hypocrisy? And you just kind of stole my freaking thunder, dude. Why'd you do that? But you stole my thunder. But yeah, do you think it's hypocrisy for these people who call themselves believers to support Donald Trump as a president?
Yeah. So, I mean, that is such a, it's, okay. So a couple of things. I mean, whether you like Trump or not, whether you agree with what you said or not, I'm sure I can, you give me 20 minutes, I can find all the rebuttals to all that kind of stuff that you said, right? It just depends what you're looking at, what you want to hear, right?
I haven't said that. Because I specifically chose things that you really like. They're fairly factual. Like the stuff that I chose to put on there,
right,
is documented. Right. Like it's not.
Right.
Yeah.
So I heard about the whole racism back in those, back in 1971 or whenever it was. Yeah. And I was reading something about that, and it contradicted that narrative. However, I don't know enough, to be honest with you, so I'm not going to sit here and debate that. That's not. Yeah. I don't think that's really the crux of the essence of the question, because here's my thing is, then if it's Trump, if it's Obama, if it's Biden, it doesn't matter. These guys are politicians. These are human beings, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't put my trust in human beings. So that's not what I'm putting my trust in. Now, do I like some of the things that he passed? Sure. Do I like him as a person? And do I think what he's done is right? No. But I also know he's a human being. I know he's corrupt and sinful. So I expect that. Now, if you're going to call me a hypocrite for that, that's fine. I've been a hypocrite 10 times over for other things. And that's not the point. To me, that's not the point, because I understand all my Christian brethren are hypocrites. We all are hypocrites because the standard is perfection. And we try to hold to that standard. So in that essence, we are hypocrites. We don't follow what we say every day. And I think that's why we get a bad rep, because our standard is in the public eye. You could go right now, read a Bible and say, oh, okay, I know what he's supposed to do. With a non-Christian person, what is their standard? It is hidden, right? It is hidden, because if I see someone who's not a Christian doing something, like, well, that's not my standard, so I'm not a hypocrite. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, to answer your question, if you are a Bible believing Christian person and you think Trump walks on water, then yes, my answer to you is, yeah, you are a hypocrite. You probably shouldn't be doing that. Does that make sense? But I think most, and and I know you don't like this, smart, well-read, reasoned, wise, Bible-believing, Christ-following people will probably give you somewhat of a similar answer. Like, we know he's a human. We know he's corrupt. We know he's fallen. We know he's morally bankrupt, just like everyone else, just like all the other politicians before him, and just like all the politicians after him. Trump is nothing special to me. He was never special to me before. He's nothing special to me after. And yeah, I don't put my trust in him. He did some good things. He did some bad things. It all depends, how you look at it. But I'm not going to sit here and completely dog cuss him. And then I'm not going to completely elevate him to like some of these guys, right? The never Trumpers, as they call them. I'm not one of those people. I can call when he's done something good. Hey, that's good. When he's done something bad, dude, get off of Twitter. Quit saying something so stupid. Be a presidential candidate, right? Yeah. Anyways, be regal, whatever that means. But I think that's where I stand. I don't know if that's my short, long answer.
Well,
yeah,
does that makes sense to y'all? I mean, again, it's, and I've talked to a ton of people, at my church or people that we kind of believe in. Really, they echo the same sentiment. To be honest with you.
Well, Sam, you said, what did you say, that Donald Trump is nothing special to you, but for the evangelical Christians, he is. I'm going to throw out numbers. All right, this is just off this me making numbers up. I'm sure they correlate to reality some. So evangelical Christians voted for Obama, let's just say 35%. Mm-hmm. Voted for Trump 92%, and then voted for Biden 50%.
Right.
All right. So they think Trump is something special. Now, is it Trump? Is it just the Republican Party? So you start to have to concede that there's something going on that is not morals. That is not
right. But I think I understand what you're saying, right? And let's say those numbers are true. I think that's not fair to the individuals who voted for those. Let's say, like, I'll say it. I voted for Trump, right? Mm-hmm. But and I hope you guys talking to me, you wouldn't say, "Oh, look at that guy," blah 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 blah. My whole thing is, was it like, "Oh yeah, go Trump"? Like that's the second coming of Jesus? No, I'm like, well, I don't want to vote for this person because I don't agree with her social whatever she's going to pass, right? Social, her way of ideology, her thinking. His was close. It's not perfect, but it's closer to what I want it to be. Is it perfect? No. Is he a perfect candidate? No. So I think that is, to be honest with you, I think it's unfair for, I want to say, non-evangelical people or non-Christian people to say, well, look, evangelicals voted for him. How dare they? These Christian people are horrible, terrible people. I don't think that's fair because, again, we can go in, and we can have another podcast about this, but I can go in and tell you, like, he passed certain, he did certain things that as a Christian, as a Bible believing people that we actually like, right? He put, we can go through it. I don't want to, because then it gets to be into a political realm, and I don't want to get into that. But I'm just saying that he got voted for because he spoke a little bit to that base, and that base says, you know what, we like that. Yes, we don't agree with 60%, 70% of what you are and what you've done and whatever, but these things we hold true, and we see that in the long term, in the next generation or two, they're going to have a long lasting effect. That's what we want. And so, yeah, you can look at that whole and just gasp at that. But then if you talk to each individual person, like we're doing right now, you could say, okay, well, yeah, was not like an easy decision, but there's no perfect candidate for us, right? Just like for a secular humanist, there's not going to be a perfect candidate. So if there's not a perfect candidate, we have to take what's in front of us. And you have to pick, I guess, the lesser of two evils, if you want to say. But I mean, that's the best way I could explain it, to be honest with you. And so I don't want to like do broad strokes of just saying, okay, well, these event, yeah, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Will, I mean, you go, and then I want to kind of touch on a couple of those things real quick.
Go ahead. I don't have a lot to add to that.
Okay. So, one of the problems that I have, with what you said was that he put some things in place that are kind of long term going to help the people who are quote unquote believers. And I suspect you're talking about the Supreme Court. Is that what was in your brain?
That's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I suspect that was the main one. Now, my problem with that is that he ran against 16 other candidates that have records with respect to their political beliefs, whereas Donald Trump was all over the map, didn't have any political beliefs to speak of ever, and just said what he needed to say in any situation. People knew he was a pathological liar when he was elected. So there was no real understanding that he would be committed to doing any of the things that he said, because I saw him literally, and this is like literal, he flip-flopped on abortion 4 times in one day, which as a Christian would be one of the central things that you would believe in, right? So that's the first thing. There was no reason to believe that he would actually do any of the things he said he would do because of his history. The second thing is that there were, most of the candidates that he ran against were religious and had a history of religion. He doesn't. He never was. Can't even hold a Bible upright and can't even say a scripture. So there was no reason to believe that any of those candidates that were on that stage wouldn't have done exactly the same thing that he did with respect to Supreme Court. As a matter of fact, I think it's extraordinarily likely that any of them would have done the exact same thing had the court seats came up. Thirdly, Donald Trump is a clear, in my opinion, presentation of the flaws of having this thought that there is a higher power or being. Because if I was an alien and I came down and I was like, wow, these people are believers in these precepts, they're this is the belief that you should be kind to your neighbor and not covet the neighbor's wife, and all the 10 commandments, right? Not have false gods. And I was this alien being, and I came down, and this is what people told me they believed, and then I saw what was performed with respect to the one guy that represents everybody in this country. They voted for this guy, and he exhibited absolutely none of those principles. Zero. I mean, morality, if you believe in the concept of morality, he has basically none. Biblically, he's never had a history of believing in God or showing that or going to church on a regular, any of that, right? I mean, all of the left-leaning guys absolutely did, right? Clinton, even Obama, all of them, even George Bush, right? They all had history. He had none. So what it points out to me is that religion, and it has been historically, it just shows that humankind will use religion for whatever ends it deems necessary to get the objective goal. And I don't think that the objective had anything to do with, I don't want to get into politics either, but to me, and you can see how strongly I feel about this particular issue, because it was the offenses against anything kind of Christian and religious are so egregious. You said get off Twitter. Well, we kind of want to know what the president thinks. Just because he's off Twitter doesn't mean he doesn't think the stuff that he's saying. So right,
but you really, to be honest with you, and I hope I'm not sounding like I'm flip-flopping, but you're really making my case, man. He's a broken, flawed human being. And any Christian would tell you that. Any Christ follower would tell you that. Like, I'm going to give you all that stuff.
So did you say Obama was a broken and flawed human being?
But I don't know him, right? So I can't, like,
you don't know Trump either. You don't know
Trump. I don't know, but the thing is, I would tell you, we are all broken, flawed human beings. So that's a blanket statement. So here's the thing. I could only tell you, you look at these NBA players, right? So let's just get off of, you look at these guys, and we only know them for what? The 15 minutes, an hour that we see, or some of the stuff. We don't know what's going on in their minds and hearts.
But you absolutely knew. But Trump was so visible that you knew pretty much what was going on in his brain almost all the time.
Right, but I was looking at policies, right? So you look at policies. I'm not looking at the character. I could agree with you, and this guy's character is flawed, just like almost everyone living on this planet. Their character is flawed.
So no one is perfect. So President Obama, his character was flawed?
Yes. Of course. You're telling. So to me, I'm not going to.
I'm not saying that because he's black. I'm just saying that because of his history, like what he's shown.
Pick whoever. He's flawed. He's a flawed human being. Here's my standard. But here's the thing. My standard is what? It's Christ Jesus. So there's the thing. I would say he's flawed.
So then if we're talking about, so now we're talking about grades of flawed then, right? So you have to make an assessment on how, on a grade of being flawed, right? So now you can, because you're kind of making it a little more gray. So we'll muddle it up a little bit.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying we're all flawed.
Yeah.
You're the one who's bringing the gray in there. I'm just saying we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. Obama's flawed. Trump is flawed. I'm flawed. Lincoln was flawed. The next president will be flawed. Biden's flawed.
So then there's no point of voting for anybody. So basically what you're saying is that as a Christian, it doesn't matter who you vote for because everybody's flawed. Is that what you're telling me?
That's not what I'm saying. See, I think you're trying to. It seems to me that you're trying to paint Trump in a certain way, and if you're saying, look, if he's this guy, if he's this bad character, how could you as a Christian vote for him, right? And my whole thing is, I agree, his character is flawed. I'm giving you that. I'm telling you, and I'm agreeing with you, his character is flawed. We're looking at certain policies that he was trying to pass that are close to what Christians or conservatives want. That's about it. Again, it's like we're picking at straw. I feel like we're nitpicking because I'm agreeing with you, man. It's like these guys, none of these guys are perfect. They're all politicians. Yeah. I don't care for Biden. I don't care for Trump. I don't care for Barack. I don't care for any of those guys because they're politicians. They're flawed and they're not working. I mean, they're just they're politics, right? They're politicians.
There's the rub. Let's just stop talking about for this sake of this argument.
Right.
I don't agree with everyone's the same kind of flawed. I think there are grades, but let's just throw that aside. It's all policy. So Trump versus Hillary Clinton, Sam would much rather have a world that Trump's policies influence or make versus the policies that Clinton would enact to make society. The society that Clinton wants to paint, Sam likes a lot less, whatever, than a world that Trump can mold with his policies. Is that
basically it? Yeah, I mean, it's about.
I hear that. I still have a problem with it because he voted for Trump not knowing what he was going to do. And if you looked at what Trump had done in the past, he was a pathological liar before he got elected. He was cheating on wives before he got elected. He wasn't church going before he got elected. He flip-flopped on tons of policies before he got elected. He was right, then he was left, then he was right, then he was left when it suited his fancy. So my point isn't that the policies that he thought he might do, it's that he had no reason to even believe that he would do any of that stuff when he voted for him the first time and the second time.
But the thing is, if I voted for him for a particular reason and that particular reason came to fruition, can you really say that? He did appoint Supreme Court justices that are conservative, that are constitutionalist, right? And so it's like, that's really what I wanted.
Is
And
there
that's
any,
really what I got.
is there
Now,
any,
did he do everything that I wanted? Not really. But what politicians has done that?
well, no politician had 3 justices come up, even though they said that they weren't.
No, that's not the point. And I'm talking about the justice. I'm just saying, what politician has fulfilled 100% of what he promised?
None, not even close. Even Trump. I mean, there was nothing.
I agree. Yeah.
So
I think we're agreeing on a lot of things.
My point is that there were 16 other candidates that actually exhibited way more close to your Christian philosophy, and they didn't have this history of being super flawed morally. Like, there's no false equivalent here. Like Trump is the most flawed behavior-wise person that we've ever seen in that office. I think we would all agree with that, correct? Yes, no?
We're all flawed. That's my statement.
Okay.